A couple of days ago, I talked about the situation with Doki Bird, who is this VTuber that absolutely blew up out of nowhere, mostly because she came forward with her experience in her agency, and it wasn't a very good one. And there was so much outpour of sympathy from the entire internet that she's basically had a complete career revival and has never been a bigger creator until now. Overall, it's a really wholesome 100 situation. It's a wholesome situation, okay? I'm taking off the irony mask for this one because I talk about so many creators that blow up out of absolutely nowhere, and it's kind of implied that they're basically an industry plant or a nepo baby. Someone has gave them the ability to have a platform. They haven't really earned it themselves. A good example is Bobby Althoff. She was a TikToker that would make these videos of like being pregnant and how that's relatable, I guess, for pregnant women, and like the 5 people that played Amnesia Rebirth, where you play as a pregnant woman.
No. You're so much bigger. This can't be real.
Like, the relatability ends there. But then after those TikToks, she then ended up doing podcasts with like Drake. So there was definitely something going on behind the scenes. She had a very good manager, at least.
Hi guys, welcome to the Really Good Podcast with your host Bobby Althoff. Today I'm here with, can you introduce yourself?
Drake.
But with the Doki situation, she's talked about how she hasn't been able to make content because of her contract and just a lot of horrible things behind the scenes, even being hospitalized at one point. And now she has the biggest career that she's ever had, which is great. But now there have been some updates to the situation, some which are downright hilarious, if anything, because one thing I love to do is look at big companies and laugh at their downfall. No man! LOL! So, as I talked about in the previous video, Doki Bird was originally with the agency called Niji Sanji. Now, this is a huge conglomerate. They have so much talent, but now, because Doki Bird has split off and basically became a celebrity overnight, they are trying to do as much damage control as possible. Now, originally, like I said, their acknowledgement of her being let go wasn't very good. She didn't even know that she was being let go until they came out with a tweet mentioning it, and then straight after, they had a merch drop. This is the equivalent of if the Queen died. I mean, she did die. When the Queen died in the UK, they'd announced some kind of merch drop, like get your limited edition robe or one of 1,000 inflatable crowns.
This is BBC News. We're interrupting our schedules for the following announcement. Buckingham Palace has announced the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
So Doki Bird, or Selen, as she likes to be called sometimes, filed a lawsuit against Niji Sanji, and she promised that it would stay private. Did it stay private? Why do you think I'm making this video? So as soon as she announced the lawsuit and how private it was going to be, 3 of the biggest talent on Niji Sanji basically came out and talked about the lawsuit, basically disregarding any amount of privacy whatsoever and then ending it by saying, now it's up to the lawyers. Now, the stream talking about the lawsuit was huge. It got like well over 1 million views. If you look at the like to dislikes, not very good. And the stream itself was only 15 minutes. Surprisingly, this isn't the shortest stream we've had this year. That would still go to Aiden Ross when he paid Playboy Carti money to come on the stream. And the entire stream was 6 minutes long.
Back to the studio. 2024 music.
You leave right now?
Yeah.
All right, well, let me mute real quick.
Now, the stream itself intentionally is just a black screen, but it's got the 3 biggest talents of Niji Sanji: Elora Pandora, Vox Akuma, and Ike Eveland. So there was a lot of things that were admitted on the stream. Basically, there was a PR statement that was completely canned. And this statement, which went against what Doki wanted, was scheduled to go live the actual exact same time that Doki was going live as well, because she actually has like a timetable when she's going to go live, which was a little bit underhanded. And that they self-reported that, yes, this did actually happen. And then there was some pretty bad attempts at deflection to kind of like not acknowledge any wrongdoing in this whatsoever, and it's entirely Doki's fault or like outside forces. And Doki is now lawyering up because, you know, Niji basically fumbled the bag so much by exposing private information. I think there's something really wrong about this situation as well, that the talent for Niji Sanji are basically being used as meat shields. Meat shields not being something I thought I'd use since my Cruelty Squad video, but yeah, it's like it's not uploaded onto the Niji Sanji main channel. It's instead being uploaded onto a creator's channel, almost as if the actual big conglomerate company didn't want to take the heat for this, and if it backfired, it's the creator's fault, not our fault. And because of the fact that they timed this stream to go live exactly when Doki was going to go live, she had to end the stream early because obviously people were starting to hate brigade her channel.
We couldn't really have this Neopet stream. I was really looking forward to it. And I guess I'll see you guys later, everybody. Bye, guys.
Now, one thing I do want to say, as you could probably tell, I'm not very versed in the VTuber lore. I don't even watch anime that much. I've only recently started watching Avatar: The Last Airbender, and it's really, really good.
He will need you.
But still, I'm not very versed. So what I do want to say is these three VTubers that were making the statement against Doki Bird, I almost feel like it's not really their fault. It is more the management kind of pushing them and putting them up to it. Because as you know, if big faceless company makes a statement, people just go, silence brand. But then if you get some creators on that team to put out their own statements, it seems a bit more personalized and there's like a bigger chance of winning people over. Obviously, that is not the scenario here. But what I'm trying to say is Doki Bird is a very liked and respected creator, but the other creators that did their own live stream, they're also very liked. Well, probably before this stream, but still they had a lot of respect. Now, there are some weird things that stick out to me during the stream. Like, for example, there's like some very sharp, forced breathing. Now, apparently this is pretty common with AI voices, but even then it's still a little bit bizarre.
And we would like to take some time to address the events surrounding Zelene Tatsuki's contract termination.
Obviously, a lot of people noticed that, and then they said that because of that, the video is scripted. It probably is scripted because they do open up by saying they're not really sure what they can and can't say, and, you know, it has to be very concise. So are they reading a script behind a black screen? Probably. I don't really need my spidey sense to tell me that if you're under huge allegations, you're then going to be reading from a script. They then go on to say that, you know, both the livers and the company have been affected very deeply, and that they're taking the situation very, very seriously.
Both we, the livers, and the company have been affected deeply and are taking the situation very seriously. Everything that'll be discussed has been approved by our lawyers or is based solely on our personal experiences.
And then goes on to basically say everything that's been discussed with lawyers and personal experience.
Before anything is discussed, there is something very important that we, Nijisanji En, feels need to be made very clear. All of us do not condone harassment of any kind to any of the parties involved.
We do not condone any sort of harassment, anything. So they're saying they don't want any harassment towards them, nothing towards Nijisanji, and they're probably also including Doki Bird in that statement. Now, to be fair, in the stream, she does actually say at one point that she volunteered for her channel to be used for the stream.
I volunteered for my channel to be used for this stream.
Which, like, if anything, it sounds like you're basically offering yourself up for sacrifice, knowing that you're going to be the one to get all this shit thrown at you. Because like I said, Doki Bird has absolutely blown up. She's basically became one of the biggest VTubers imaginable completely overnight. So it's almost like she knew she was being up for the firing squad. Now, at some points, you can, like, hear the genuine fear in her voice because, like, her and the team must have an insane amount of pressure behind them, knowing that basically anything they're going to say, they're going to get bodied anyway.
However, there are also harmful claims Zelene made in the document about some livers' personal information that we believe are simply untrue. I felt threatened and scared of speaking out about the situation because of the risk that it could pose to not just my own safety, but the safety of those around me as well.
Now, another VTuber that I mentioned earlier, VODS, joins in, and he basically goes on to talk about how Zelene did a cover of a song that was taken down by Nijisanji. I talked about this last video, and how she tweeted about it.
This recent situation began when Zelene claimed on Twitter that her most recent song cover had been made private by staff, and she gave no context or reasoning as to why. In actuality, she had been asked to send the content of her music video to her manager in advance of the release date so it could be checked for content, etc., which is something that all livers agree to do. Her manager communicated with her about this very clearly, but she released her cover without giving management time to check it, and as a result, it needed to be made private.
Now, they tried to show some screenshots to basically counter Doki to make her not seem as innocent as she's portrayed to be. But at the same time, like, why did you wait until now to drop these screenshots? It almost seems like it's damage control at this point. That should have been the first thing that Nijisanji should have done when this all went down, instead of, you know, cutting her off and then doing a merch drop. Now, even though earlier in the stream they do mention they don't want harassment sent to anyone's way, VODS basically tries to portray Doki Bird as someone that has a repeated pattern of behavior of not being a great person, of having these same actions that lead to the same situation. Like, he even mentions a Fall Guys tournament at one point. VODS then goes on to make a pretty heavy claim that Doki was, like, illegally recording him, basically saying that there was a conversation and he didn't consent to being recorded. The problem is Doki lives in Canada, and Canada, like a lot of Western countries, do have a one-party consent law, which means if one person wants to record the entire conversation, the other person doesn't really have to consent to it. But obviously framing it as being, like, illegal, that's again trying to make Doki seem a lot more of a scumbag. But then after trying to portray her as not a very honest person, he then goes on to say, I only wish her the best. I only wish she learns and she grows, which is like what every YouTuber says in an apology video. I don't know why that's like a meme at this point. They always say, I want to learn and grow.
Also, in the document given to Any Color by Selen's lawyer, it stated that Selen had secretly recorded me in a private voice call without my knowledge or consent. Now, I have absolutely zero memory of what I might have specifically said in that recording, but we know it was on the topic of the tweet that I had made around the time of AR Live's cancellation last year.
And to add on top of that as well, you might have seen recently, in the past couple of days, Niji Sanji themselves actually did a response video. Now, unfortunately, they didn't call it My Response To, they instead titled it Addressing Your Concerns. But the beginning of the apology alone is very, very dishonest. He actually says at one point, let me apologize for a misunderstanding caused by the notice.
Hello, I'm Rick Tazumi, CEO of Anycolor Inc. I'm making this video to speak directly to you, the fans of Nisanji EN, and everyone who supports the VTuber industry. First of all, I deeply apologize for causing concern to many people. Please allow me this time to address your concerns.
I really don't like the word misunderstanding because it almost infers like, I'm not sorry, I'm sorry you feel that way. There's actually a comment on the YouTube video because surprisingly they didn't actually disable comments. It's like he was drunk driving, hit a pedestrian, and is now apologizing to the witnesses, the bystanders, the lawyers, everyone except the pedestrian. Because obviously at no point do they actually make a direct apology to Doki Bird because that would basically undo everything. This is Future Pyro here. I did actually record the rest of this video, but then I realized that my OBS was paused the entire time, so the video just abruptly ended. What I did want to say is after all of this drama, Niji Sanji lost around 15% of their entire stock value. In comparison, 10% of their value would be around $152 million, but again, for a company so big, that really is just a drop in the bucket. So before I end this video, because I think this will be the last time I talk about this, I just want to give a quick rundown of everything that has happened from start to finish. Selen, or Doki, tries to host a national tournament. Niji Sanji make her pay out of her own pocket. Then Niji Sanji shut down the tournament after she paid. Niji Sanji then ban her from doing any additional tournaments. Niji Sanji then ban her from doing national tournaments. Then they never give Selen the silver play button, which is apparently a common thing that none of the other creators actually got their silver play button. Then Selen tries to do an art competition. Niji Sanji make her pay out of her own pocket and give the artists less than a month to work with. Selen requests a longer deadline. Niji Sanji, of course, do nothing. Selen then gets inside harassment from other livers who are never named. Niji Sanji then say that they know about the harassment, but basically choose to do nothing because apparently Selen has already destroyed their reputation. Then Selen works on a Christmas music video. Niji Sanji make her pay out of her own pocket. Selen spends $15,000 of her own money on the music video. Niji Sanji take down the music video hours after it drops. Selen then asks Niji Sanji for help. Niji Sanji, of course, does absolutely nothing. Selen then spends $200,000 of her own money in a year just to keep herself afloat with zero help from the company. And as we know later, Selen wasn't in a good mental space and ended up going to the hospital. And then Niji Sanji took over her account and pretended to be her for 2 months. And then Niji Sanji announced Selen's termination without even telling her first. She basically found out the same time that the general public did. And they terminated her immediately, keeping her from saying goodbye to anyone that she knew, saying that the exclusion is negligible. And then, of course, they promoted merch a day later like nothing happened. And then finally, Niji Sanji broke their own NDA to show livers their contracts and conversations with Selen, which have her medical documents involved. All of this to save face. Now, after all of this, Selen, or Doki, has put out another tweet response. It is incredibly long. I'll let you read it for yourself. But overall, the situation is really drawn out and it's kind of sad. I mean, this is my first involvement in the VTuber scene and it's not a great look for all parties involved. I just really wish Doki's doing the best and also the VTubers as well that were basically thrown into defending themselves. It's just a really shitty situation.